Dad, I don't think you should throw those steak bones in the trash.
Honey, Daddy's a highly skilled professional dog trainer. Sky wouldn't dream of touching these bones. You got nothing to worry about.
Okay, let's go to dance. Told you so.
Hey dog training friends, in today's video I'm going to show you two simple ways to fix your dog's trash stealing problem. So if you have a dog that likes to jump on the counters, steal trash, I'm going to show you two simple ways that you can fix it. But before then, I want to just show you this article from today.com from Singapore. These athletes wear electronic dog collars and get zapped in support of SPCA's call to ban e-collars in Singapore. So the e-collar, shock collar, is a very controversial dog training tool. If you look right here, it says agony, pain, fear. Then as you scroll down, it says there are humane ways to train dogs that don't involve force or pain for your furry pal. Then there are adversive methods, like using electronic shock collars that send an electronic jolt to the dog controlled by the trainer with a remote control whenever Spot misbehaves. Advocates against shock collars or e-collars say this not only creates pain for the poor pooch, it also sparks fear, distress, and anxiety. Unfortunately, e-collars are still being used in Singapore. They've been banned in many countries such as Germany and Switzerland. So, as we're saying, e-collars are a very, very controversial subject when it comes to dog training. So I wanted to dig in a little bit on how dog training works and use this article to maybe explain e-collars and negative consequences so that we have a better understanding. Because what happens with an e-collar is that, or when you talk about adversives in dog training, is that immediately you always get the anti-punishment crowd coming in and saying, never use anything unpleasant or adversive or negative when you are training a dog. And I understand that because the way I was brought up in the dog training world was extremely harsh and negative. And for a while, I became an all-positive trainer. I would never use an e-collar or a prong collar or do anything like that. But you really have to look at things from a couple different angles. So anyways, there is a big push in the dog training world to ban e-collars, prong collars, anything adversive when it comes to dog training. And they put together this campaign that they're pushing in Singapore right now. They have some different athletes. They're not like figure skaters or ballet dancers. It's kickboxers and weightlifters and those types of things to try and put an angle on it that these big tough athletes are in pain and that's why we should ban e-collars, or as I said, they like to call them shock collars. And then it goes on, this film demonstrates how much pain a shock collar can cause and why it should never be used as part of a modern day animal training program, says SPCA executive director. These top athletes endured the shocks to raise awareness of this important issue so that animals could be spared the pain. We thank them for their sacrifice. In the video titled SPCA Presents Tough People versus Shock Collars, the athletes put on a 4,500 volt e-collar on their arms to feel the pain it inflicts on the animal for themselves. And I'll show you the video in just a second. And the whole thing is that when it comes to dogs are an extremely emotional topic. We all love our dogs. We really do. And so we always need and want to be kind to our dogs. But are we really being kind if we refuse to use one of these devices? So let's go back to the beginning of this video. The beginning of this video, my dog Sky and my daughter. Sky got in the trash. Now here's the thing. There's two ways that you can immediately prevent that from happening ever again. Okay? One of the things that I do at my schools, I teach what's called the Littenders Learning Ladder. Here, I'll put up a graphic real quick. And these are the steps that I go through when I'm helping somebody train a dog. Because if you really think about what my job is, I don't really train dogs. I train humans to train dogs. And so I have to be good at educating the human. And I put this ladder together to help them understand the steps to training a dog. First one, it says on your terms. Dog comes into the house, they have to live on your terms, right? If they don't live on our terms, it's easy to get very frustrated with them. Dogs come into the house, they jump, they chew, they bark, they bite, they dig, they pull on leash, they don't come back when we call them. And so we have a dog, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, we're frustrated. What was I thinking? Why'd I get this dog? You don't want to build a relationship on frustration, right? Nobody ever said, hey, hun, let's get more frustration in our life. Let's go get a puppy. But what happens is we have a certain thought in our head about having a dog. You can picture, going for hikes and being on the beach and having this, your best friend waiting there all happy to see you when you walk through the door, right? Dogs are great. Dogs are awesome. Who doesn't love having a dog? But when it starts to go sideways, you come home and your couch is destroyed, your trash is all over the place, the dog gets loose out the door and runs away. Well, that frustration starts to build. So the dog has to learn to live on your terms so the frustration is gone. The other reason that a dog has to live on your terms, and this is very important, is that your job as the dog owner is to keep the dog safe. You have to keep your dog safe. So think about your dog jumping up on the counter and stealing a slice of pizza. Extremely frustrating. But what if your dog jumps up and steals a box of chocolates? Your dog chews on the couch. Very frustrating. Your dog chews on electrical wire. Dangerous. So your job is to keep that dog safe. And what about a dog that gets into the trash and eats a chicken bone? Or maybe something that you threw away that develops problems for the dog. Maybe there's the dog eats like an old sponge that you threw away, right? Or gets some kind of obstruction. So again, your job is to make sure that your dog leaves the trash alone. Doesn't do what my dog did. That was a setup, by the way. Anyways, you want to make sure that your dog isn't stealing trash, that they come back to you, right? And when you start digging into dog training, because I'm sure if you're watching this video, you've watched a lot of dog training videos, the biggest problem with dog training is that it's so confusing. Every single dog trainer that you talk or listen to has conflicting advice. This dog trainer says this one says that, this one says to use an electronic collar, this one says never use an electronic collar, this one says play tug of war, don't play tug of war, use the prong collar, don't use the prong, right? We could be here. I could go on for hours about how confusing dog training is. And one of the things is that when it comes to adversives, there's a huge anti-punishment movement all over the world when it comes to dog training. And it's because, again, we love our dogs. Nobody wants to see the dog in pain or fearful or anything like that. But getting back to how to stop your dog from going in the trash or getting on the counters or anything like that. The first step is manage. So if you look at the ladder that I put together, the second rung on the ladder says manage. Manage the dog. That's what most of us do in the early stages of having a young dog or a puppy. We rescue a dog or we get a puppy, we come home, one of the first things we do is get a crate or baby gates, or we pick a room in the house that we're going to confine the dog to, because we need to manage the dog's behavior. If you're not physically there with the dog, you don't want the dog having free range of your house and destroying things, getting in the trash, knocking things over, so you can manage. That solves the problem, but it doesn't teach the dog anything. It just manages the problem. So the dog's safely confined to the crate, which is a good thing. Can't get in the trash. But how long do you want to manage your dog's behavior for? When I leave my house, my dogs, they can go wherever they want. Get the whole house to themselves. Because I don't have to manage my dogs. Because what you do is you replace management with training. You train the dog so you don't have to manage the dog. And that, I think, is the goal for most people, is they don't want to have to put the dog in the crate or in the other room or keep baby gates up, right? Management is something that we do short term as we're training the dog. The other way that you can immediately stop the dog from going in the trash is to use a little device like this one here. Okay, so this device, this is a $40, $50 device that you can get on Amazon, or there's just Google search, you can find these devices. So you see that there's a little disc and then there's a collar. You put the disc in the trash, the dog starts to get close to the trash, right? There's stimulation from the collar, the dog stays away from the trash. Doesn't really require any training on your part, solves the problem immediately, and most importantly, it keeps your dog safe. This is the thing about adversives in dog training. Nobody likes to punish dogs. I don't like to punish dogs, but I love the results. I do. when you go to work tomorrow, I guarantee you are driving by at least 10 houses that have invisible fence. An invisible fence is a great way to keep a dog safe. Because think about it, your dog learns to stay within the yard, and I can hear some people howling right now. Invisible fence didn't work for my dog. Invisible fence has problems and it creates aggression. And I've heard all the arguments. But most importantly, if it's done right, if it's an invisible fence is just the brand name. It's really an underground containment system. If it's taught right, it's super effective, keeps the dog safely in the yard, and prevents them from running out and getting lost, getting hit by a car. And it was done through adversives. I'm gonna give you a little dog training tip that you should remember. Dogs do 2 behaviors. That's it, they do 2 behaviors. As you watch my videos, I'm gonna keep going over this because dogs do 2 behaviors. They're either doing a behavior that you like and want, sit, lie down, come and called, walk on leash, or they're doing a behavior that you don't like and don't want, jumping, chewing, barking, biting, digging. If you want the dog to do a behavior, you apply reinforcement. Reinforcement increases behavior. You want the dog to stop doing a behavior, you apply punishment. You want the dog from stop leaving the yard, you have to punish. You want the dog to stay out of the trash, you have to punish. You want the dog to stop jumping on you, you have to punish. Now, I know that there's tons of trainers, tons of videos out there that say, nope, you don't have to do that, you can use treats. How are you gonna use treats to stop a dog from jumping on the table and stealing food? How are you gonna do it? You're gonna throw the food on the floor, dog's gonna grab the food on the floor, and then he's gonna grab the food on the table. You have to make it unpleasant for the dog the moment they go for the food. And if you do that, you can immediately teach the dog not to go and steal food off the table. Think about invisible fence. For you guys out there that use invisible fence or underground containment systems, you know that if it was done correctly, the dog received 2, maybe 3 corrections, and you were done. And that's how punishment works. If punishment is applied correctly and properly, punishment is fast. It's fast. And this is what the all positive trainers hate. They don't like hearing about fast dog training. I'm all about training a dog fast. I am. I like to get the training process done as fast as I can. And I like to help owners get the training process done as fast as they can, because there's a lot of people out there that they love their dogs. They don't necessarily love training. And there are things that take time. Teaching a dog to do a perfect down, it takes repetition. And it's not gonna happen, within a couple of days. It takes repetition and practice. But you wanna stop a dog from jumping, stealing, barking, take care of it fast if you apply punishment correctly. The underground containment system that keeps the dog safely in the yard, they maybe receive the correction 1 or 2, maybe 3 times, but for me, that's better than the dog getting crushed. Keeping the dog away from the trash can, that's better than the dog choking on a chicken bone. And also, people, they really start to get mad at their dogs and lose it when they come home every day and the trash is all over the floor. This is gonna sound controversial, but you can have a peaceful relationship with your dog if you learn how to punish them. And again, I know you're going to disagree with me, but there's guys that have admitted to me, they come home after a long, hard day at work, they're tired, they stop off at Jersey Mike's, they get a giant Italian sub, they come home, they put it on the table, they go into the other room to get changed, to grab a beer, they come back, and the Italian sub is in the dog's stomach, and all left on the ground is some lettuce and an old wrapper. What do you think that dog owner does to that dog? I'm just being honest with you, and be honest with yourself. What do you think that guy, right, does after a hard day, stressful day at work, looking forward to put his feet up, enjoy his Jersey Mike sub, and his dog just ate it? You think he goes, oh, that's okay, Sparky, don't do it again? It's not what happens. Guy like that comes to me, I'll teach his dog not to touch the sub ever again. Now there's peace in the house. Now the dog's not getting yelled at, or worse. It teaches the dog, don't do that behavior. And what you'll see a lot of these all positive trainers say is they'll say, teach the dog what you want it to do. Okay, I don't want the dog to go in the trash. What am I going to teach it to do? Dogs do 2 behaviors. You're either reinforcing a behavior or punishing a behavior. Or you can manage. So if you don't want to do any of this stuff, that's fine with me. I understand. I do. I don't expect anybody to do anything that they don't want to do. And anytime anybody comes into my school, first thing I say is I'm going to show you how to use reinforcement and punishment. When it comes to punishment, I'll explain everything that I'm going to do. And if you don't feel comfortable, you don't want to do it, you have a concern, a question, let me know, because we don't have to do anything. It's always your dog. I'm not telling you what to do with your dog. You make the final decision. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine. Manage the dog. For me though, like I said, that dog's going to spend a lot of time in that crate or in a room. So I'd much rather train the dog. So who's being kind? If the dog stops stealing the trash and you save the dog's life, if the dog doesn't leave the yard and get hit by the car because you applied an adversive, who's being kinder? Because this is what it always comes back to. So this article right here, this is the one connected with the Singapore Teach with Kindness, Choose Force Free, right? And again, this is what is very popular. And force free, all positive training. Don't do shock collars. Don't do prong collars. Just use treats. Yeah, treats to teach the dog a behavior. But how are you going to stop a behavior with treats? Just answer that for me. And I know what the answer is. Counter conditioning, redirection, ignore. I've heard all that stuff. Again, I've been in the game for a long time. I was an all positive trainer. I was a member of the Association of Pet Dog Trainers. I've seen it all. I tried it all. And if it works for you, great. Then you don't need adversives. But if you're struggling, right? If you're struggling, your dog is doing these things and you need help, you got to look into both sides of the issue. You got to be comfortable with reinforcement and punishment. So anyways, there's a video on YouTube.
I'm born to lift stones. I'm a natural.
A couple of tough athletes, and again, watch the video. But the big thing, as I said, you really need to take a different view on punishment. You have to look at it as information and not something terrible that's happening to the dog, right? Nobody goes through life without unpleasant experiences happening to them. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget, you can subscribe to my channel. And if you go over to solveyourdogproblems.com, we have all kinds of good reports there if you're struggling with any kind of dog training problems. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a great day.